We'll talk about the film a little later after we watch the film. This is a very unplanned film, a film that just happened on the go. I wish you all happy viewing. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for coming and watching Resul's movie. I see a lot of friends here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And Resul, do you want to introduce your colleague? Oh, he ran away. Come back. Maybe we start with you giving us some history, the genesis of how this project came together and actually came into existence.
Thank you, everybody. Prasad, please come. Prasad is the writer-director of this movie. Came with us. This movie began actually after my Oscars, after I won the Oscars Slumdog. In a television interview, somebody asked me, what's your best next big thing that you want to do? As media always, push their buttons, and just to douse them, I told them, I want to record Thrissur Pooram, Thrissur is the name of the place, and there's this temple over there, 250 years old temple. There's this one of the biggest sound festival happens there. And in my knowledge, it's the only one sound tradition alive today. So someone who saw this interview years later contacted my team in Mumbai, and Prasad has made his first movie and he's trying to put his second movie together, and he's been with me, we're working together on many things. Contacted him and he said, I will fund it. So now this gentleman has a story. So the moment it came to me, I said, there's no recovery, all the money that you're going to spend, there's no recovery in this. So he said, it's okay. He is from that place where the temple is, and he left India when he was 20 years old, and he came to US and he made his money and all that. So he said, it's my tribute to the place that I am from. So it's began as a recording, and I told them it's one of the archival recording that I would do, and they can't make any profit. There's nothing that's possible. And I just had 2 weeks to do the recording. And I start prepping up. They asked me if they can shoot a documentary about how I'm doing the recording. I said, okay, if it's, that's going to bring in some money or some monetization out of it, please go ahead. So 2 weeks of prep and 5 days of recording. This huge festival gets over on the 5th day. 6th day, Prasad came and told me that, as a part of the documentary, we should also analyze what are the things that makes Pooram. So one is the big drums that they play. That's one of the main thing in the. So we went to a place where they teach children how to play the drums and all that. So that sequence is there in the film. On the next following day, we went to an elephant farm. So while talking to the Mahot, the lady Mahot, she told me the main elephant, which is in the temple procession, she carries the deity and all that. That main elephant is blind. So I asked her, how, if it's blind, how this huge animal is standing there and, it's over 3 days, how it conducts itself. She said it's all through sound. There I thought, what if I replace the elephant with a visually challenged person? Because a visually challenged person will never be able to go to Pooram and experience it. So if my ears can be their eyes, there we have a film. So he threw this idea to him. We got charged up and we immediately started writing stuff on the go, and we shot maybe another 12 days more, 15 days more. That's what the film is. So that's how it started.
Follow your passion. That's That's wonderful.
So I'm an accidental actor.
You have a presence up there. I find you are very natural and organic as I see you on the screen. So okay. So that's the trigger. And how did that all turn into logistically? How did that turn into an actual situation? What happened next? This is.
So I had two things to handle. One was the recording that I wanted to do for myself as an archival recording, which is there in the scene. Little bit you see in the scene, which is after this drummer comes to me, and there's a whole montage scene where you see me preparing for a big recording. So that was a huge setup. Though it was controlled in the sense that I had the ability to mic up properly, but once it began, so one performance is like 3 hours, and there are 5 such performances. So it meant like starting at 7 in the morning, and we wound up something like 9 o'clock in the evening. So I've recorded something like 128 tracks. We had a huge setup, some 80 dynamic microphones for the chandas and stereos, and so I began thinking like, because I'm a film person, I'm not like a music recording guy, I thought like a film person. So I thought if ever it makes it to a film or makes it to like a sound installation, I wanted to combine Dolby Atmos possibility, and I also wanted to see the Oro 3D possibility. So I combined both the film formats in my recording, plus individually, miking up everything and picking up. So we had multiple stereo microphones, 7-1 horophones, and height layer microphones, and of course individual pickups. Then this festival happens during the summer. Summer means summer in Kerala it's at 38 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much is it in Fahrenheit. Yeah. And any laptop could non-function. Heat is a problem, and dust. So I had to devise a recording system where if one fails, I have something else, and if that fails, I have something else. So I had film recorders, which is like, certain recorders can only record 2 GB data, and it stops. And so I had to devise something which is non-stop for 3 hours. So I had through that via Dan Day I got employed. I remember once in when I was talking to Mark, he uses boom recorder. One of the conversations. So there in my back of my mind. So I called up all my friends possible. So I had like a boom. I had Pro Tools in backup. I have 2 other film recorders like doing multiple stereos, and like my thing was like if my individual pickups fails and I need to climb onto this, if that fails, I have to. So I had like 4 layer of recording backup done. That was one set. The other event was, which is not shown in the film, it's only you see in the last sequence of the film, which is the live performance. They do this live performance in front of the deity. Starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and wind up like at 3 o'clock. That is, you have close to 1 million people. That year, because I was recording, all these musicians came from all over. We had like 500 musicians, some 220 drummers, and the reed instruments, and what we call ilathalam, the big brass instruments. And they all stand together in the sanctum sanctorum of the temple. It's a very small place, but we had like 2,000 people around me. So that was like a war for me. I had like multiple stereo on my hand. I had like 25 kilo weight on my shoulder, some extra microphones, stereos, and I had on another recorder like 10-15 feet away a holophone and some radio mics. I pinned it onto the main drummer, and I told the main drummer, wherever I am in the crowd, you have to come and stand in front of me because my stereo mic has to face you, my mid mic has to face you. And of course, when I went there, I could take a position, but the moment musicians came in, it was like like how a market is like. So I just got pushed away, but somehow I just pushed back, and I stood there for 3 hours. I don't know how I did it. And I think it's not about the music there, but the Pooram is not about music. It's about the animals there, the people there, and the transcendental energy that it creates over there. So I think I just flown in that. 3 hours later, when it all got over, I realized that my entire left side was paralyzed. I just couldn't move. All those sequences that we shot in that with the crowd during this ceremony, if you see I'm walking like that. So 2 set of recordings. In the brochure that we give you, there is a CD. There are 3 tracks in that CD. 2 of the tracks is the archival recording, and one of them is the live recording. It is a live recording you hear at the end of the film. So it captured in a way that I could throw things in atmos and.
It strikes me that the non-linear, the parallel nature, particularly the montage work, is very transcendental. It sort of takes us out of the literal and takes us into a spirit space. So I find that really rewarding. I'd like to hear a little bit about as a director, your collaboration process, because this is such an intimate element to the film. It's almost got a life of its own. How did that work out in terms of your partnering? What was your sort of journey through the mechanism that allowed you guys to work together on this? Who drove what?
Actually, he's an excellent actor. He's never acted in this film. I used 24 cameras for this film at a time. He didn't know he's going to be act anything. I just ask you that you just do your work. That's my work is. As I'm a director, I'll do my work. You just do your work. That's all.
So sort of a jazz improv in a way.
Yeah, and
but there's obviously communication, maybe non-literal level that's going on here.
Yeah, for example, when all those sequences with the blind people, we knew that we are going to this institution where.
Was that in the early part of the production, or did
No.
that come later? That came later.
Yeah. So we knew that we are going there. We pretty much, we are going there, we're going to see this place, and we'll see what we can do. So what happened there is nothing is scripted. So everything that comes out is, that whole sequence we shot for about more than an hour. It's like 2-3 minutes in the film. So everything they spoke about me, meeting me, and what they want to hear from me, all that is, nothing is scripted. It's all they said it on their own. And so when he realized it is going this way, he asked one of my assistants to go and give the phone. So, and I walked out of the frame, camera follows me, and he just said, listen to the telephone conversation. Then somebody gave me the cue, and I just listened and came back to the frame. So, similarly, the last sequence, when I play the whole thing to the blind people. So we called this group of people, they lit up the auditorium, and they told me that we are going to play the recording, and let's see how it's come out. So we just played, and they reacted to it the way you see it in the film.
So inside the film.
Yeah. So everything that you see is very, very little that is scripted. I mean, I know the producer is a villain in the film, but in reality, reality is such a.
If you move back and forth between sort of the documentary reality and the fictional reality, was he really a villain, or is that something that talk about that a little bit?
Oh, he's such a lovely man in reality, and he couldn't come here because right now he's in Kerala, and otherwise he would have come in. He's such a sweet man, and he never said anything about money or anything at all.
He's the producer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a professional actor to do that role, actually, and that's scripted. That's what they wrote. So we had like 2 units shooting at the simultaneously, and yeah. So this is a film that happened, not pre-planned, like I said in the beginning.
How many shooting days did you actually need to capture all this material? How many shooting days? How long was the production?
17 days,
17.
and maybe 2 days of pickup after we edited it. So 2 days of pickup.
It's a 2 unit. That means 17 into 2. I did 2 units.
As in, we had 2 cameras, and sometime
Post production, how long were you involved in pulling this all together into
Over a year.
1 year.
over a year, because I had huge things to do in the post production. One, I'll tell you a story. When I was looking for location to record the entire Melam, we call it Melam, they took me to many places as to where we can record it. So I wanted a place that is almost like the original temple they perform. Now, this temple they perform is in the last 250 years. So they took me to another temple, which is much older temple, and they told me it's exactly the same, so we can place people here and do this and all that. So, like as a sound man do, you go and clap. It doesn't sound right, so I'm just roaming around. And I come out of the...
Testing the acoustics.
Testing, yeah. I come out of the temple, in the backyard of the temple, and I go out. And when I reached that alley, I felt like clapping. And I clapped. And I heard, wow, perfect delay and perfect reverb. Chanda would sound exactly the same. So I called Prasad and I asked him, can we get the musicians here to record? And I looked around, there's no shade. It's top sun. I don't know if they will come and do it because it's a long hours of work. By this time that the main drummer came, and so I asked him, can we record it here? So he asked me, Resul, how did you reach here? I said, I clapped and I came here. It sounded right to me. He said, this is where 1132 years ago Pooram started. So I felt I was led there. I felt I was destined to do this. Then I started looking around the place. Then I realized that the place is built in a particular way, that it had a half wall, which is stone structure, and it had a quarter wall, and it had another quarter wall in both the sides, and houses measured distance from those walls. All of them are stone structure. And then he told me, this is where the elephants are arranged, this is where the royal family sits, this is where the spectators are. And he explained me everything. I said, wow, And when we began recording, people from nowhere just came up there, just to listen to this. So, yeah, so kind of destiny led me into it.
Maybe we have some questions from folks in the audience. Any questions for our filmmakers here? There's a hand up in the back.
Oh, nice loud voice up there. Can you hear me?
Can't see you, but we can hear you definitely.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for that wonderful film. I too am a sound man, and my question about maybe how did you possibly manage the data, not only the data and the structure of actually recording everything, but also the time code. You said you had, 37 cameras, was that correct? 24 cameras. That's an insane amount of data as far as managing. I have enough trouble managing 2 cameras with time code.
Oh, everything was time code locked, time of the day, and we had specific people keeping tab of each camera and the data. And of course, sound. I had like 5 sound units when we were doing the temple recordings, and each one of them glued onto everything. So this enormous data came to me, and a lot of editorial work actually, a lot of work, because One, this is a very structured performance. Last 1,100 years, this is played to perfection. So they have a very complex mathematical rhythm structure, which you can't just play around with. But you can't have that long stuff in a film. So you have like only 2.5 minutes of melody in the picture. So we needed to edit it. So I got one of the drummers with me to edit it. Even the track in the CD. Yeah, we did the post production. The track in the CD really has 7 or 8 minutes long. But it's pretty much get the gist of it.
Amazing work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It didn't go there. So I would edit a piece and I give it to them. First I would told them to edit it as per the dramatics of the picture. So they would edit that sequence and give it to me. I would do post to it. And we realized that drums are not in sync because, probably this particular shot is not in sync with the drum playing. And sometimes you see it's like, we were not able to match it. So it will go back to the edit room and say like, find those takes or adjust the picture so that you could sync it. Then it comes back to me. It goes back to the picture table again. So like back and forth. We did a lot of back and forth to find the exact sound, and so that also traditionally, what is the traditional sound structure we didn't tamper it. Interestingly, the firework happens at 2 in the morning and it gets over at 6 in the morning. It's a 4-hour firework. Yeah. Interestingly, that follows the exact rhythm structure of the melon, the fireworks. It is enormous calculation, these guys, and they do it manually. There is no computers, nothing. So you see in the sequence where I am visiting these places and the people are digging, So they make 2-inch digs, 4-inch digs, 6-inch, 8-inch, depending upon how they want what kind of the bigger bomb, smaller bomb, medium bomb, sequence. So that year we had a restriction from the explosive department because the year before that there was an accident, not at this temple, another temple. How many fireworks? 1 lakh?
Yes. 3 lakhs.
3 lakh. 300,000 fireworks. This is a relatively small fireworks in that temple. So 300,000 fireworks they played, and so fireworks again had the same rhythm structure. While recording that, I stood on the fourth floor of an old bank. From there, I could have a really a good closer look of the fireworks. I was holding this microphone. I was literally flown away. It was that kind of an impact coming to you. Literally flown away. As in, that's like 4 hours of fireworks, and people only leave after that. So they just come. Even I'm not saying like normal people, like people like us who's like grown-ups. There are kids. So it's like a huge festivity. One of its kind in the world, I would say. And we were to make a film about it. It's like,
So you knew of this festival in an early part of your life. What was the inciting when you responded? I want to record this festival. What was the connection you had with your first awareness of this festival from the early part of your life?
I am born and brought up about 400 kilometers away from this particular temple. This temple is from the southern part of Kerala. But you always grown up with this, you hear about Pooram and you know what it is, and you heard the recordings. You always, when this festival happens, it's always televised live in television. So you heard of it. But I never went into deeply, okay, this many chandas, this many instruments, this is the structure, this is how it is, this is how it happens. No, I never been deep to that detail. That I came to know during the recording, and that shocked me. Like, how do I handle this? So I had a separate unit flown in from Mumbai with all this gear. A separate unit I had for the entire thing. Then I had my team Vijay Kumar, who is also the sound designer for this movie, along with me. He had enormous amount of work. All the stress he has taken, actually. Yeah, so when I went into it, I realized it is deep an event. So I had to plan it. Very little time I had. Again, when you don't have so much time, I think you function better. You know, under stress you function better. I think we cracked it, and it just happened. Everything went so smooth, no breakdowns, no problem, and the whole film shot like that. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, it took over a year to post it, but yeah.
Meant to be. More questions? Do we have Andy?
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry, is there another one?
I can just shout.
Oh, it's coming back now. It'll get to us once you use that.
The sequence with playing for the blind people at the end is so moving. And did you know it was going to have that kind of emotional impact, or was it a happy accident for the film? It was always planned to be like that.
I didn't expect it. I did not expect it at all. And I was going through my fasting, in that month. It was a month of Rosa, So I was fasting, and most of the time I was not on the floor. So they would call me when everything is ready. They had like 3-4 cameras set up. I had no idea this is how he's going to end the film. I had no clue. So he said, okay, now I have called these people from this NGO, which is a blind thing. We're just going to give them a treat because they came for the shoot. We couldn't take care of them that day, so we're just going to give them the treat. Then I came to the floor. He said, okay, we're going to play one of the recordings, and you just take it from there. So just happened. He is quite a wise man in that sense.
You did your work, he did his work, and you met in the middle. That's great. Any other questions or comments from our audience?
Well, you have the whole recording of the whole festival. Do you screen that somewhere, or is this besides of this?
No, this is the first time. Like in the film, it is depicted at this massive scale. No, but I have a plan now. After the film gets commercially released in India, I am going to take this to museums. I'm going to create an listening environment, and I'm going to play this recording as an installation. So somebody who want to invest like 3 hours of your time, because these people practice at the age of 4, start at the age of 4. At the age of 30, 35 or 40, they are allowed to perform in a platform like this. They get initiated to be a player at the Pooram. So they invest so much of the time. It is unbelievable, the amount of precision they have. Like, it is extremely hot. You sweat a lot. So these guys will take the towel and wipe their sweat, and they come off on a point, they come off, and they come in again. Not even a fraction of a second they're wrong. And it's the structure is so complex, So I'm going to put it up as a sound installation to museums as a seat of culture.
3 hours, you said?
Yeah. So it's like, most of the Indian classical musical performance is nothing less than 2 hours. Because a raga, everything has a raga structure. So you perform a raga, you create the mood, you bring in all the notes. Then the whole performance is about from sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa, 7 notes. The whole idea of the Indian classical music is sa, the microtonal ornamentation of sa is going to meet the microtonal ornamentation of re. Where and how is what technically I'm talking, is the performance is all about. So the same raga performance will change from one performance to the other performance. So you can have like one raga performed like 30 times in a musician's lifetime, and the 30 performance will be completely different. So 3 hours is nothing in a classical. I mean, if you take Gothic singing or operatic, performances, which is our classical, Western classical tradition, a lot classically, all these traditions meet, and Indian classical music is evolved from temple tradition. Everything was around a temple. So 3 hours is nothing. The Kathakali that you see, it's like over 2 nights one story is performed. It's all about how you as an individual find emancipation through the practice of art. That's what Indian tradition is all about. Like they say in the Indian tradition, the notes you sing, the sound is not coming from your throat. The Indians believe that the human body is the first musical instrument. From Nabhi, from navel to the Uchi, from the top of your head, there are points which you emanate through practice. And Saptaswara, 7 notes, emanate out of these points. So you can catch hold of the throat of a singer, Indian classical musician, he can still sing. And they believe when this 7 points are emanated, your Kundalini rises up and you see Brahma. I mean, you get enlightened. So Indian classical tradition, music, or any such tradition is about individual emancipation, So it's we consider in India, every true artist is next to God. So a classical musician or a classical artist is very, very highly respected. We touch their feet when we see them, when we respect them. Because we believe that he stands next to God, because he has seen Brahma, he's gone through enlightenment, So listening to him, investing 3 hours of your life for him means nothing, because he has invested 40 years of his life just to find the truth.
Well, thank you for bringing your window, giving us access to this journey and this learning. It's quite an accomplishment, and I think it's a moving experience for everyone, and you guys have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much. Access to the film in terms of distribution.
We haven't got any US distribution as such right now, as of now. Sony. Sony. So it's up to Sony to.
I thought I saw the magic word Netflix up there.
No.
Yeah, Netflix is coming to us and asking the Hindi rights. Asking for the Hindi rights only.
It's a language version.
There is no CD. There's no CD? CD is
Okay, we will give it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for appreciating this small part of India.
Thank you for bringing this into the world.
Thank you.